concerto in the Italian style, or Italian concerto as it's known. And I'd like to say a few words as to why I've chosen this particular instrument on which to record the majority of the complete keyboard works of Bach. The main reason, of course, is purely selfish, and that is that I can just literally fall out of bed to practice on it. But seriously, I acquired the instrument from Colin Booth, who to my mind is arguably the finest harpsichord maker in the country. And it's derived from a single manual harpsichord by Johann Christoph Fleischer, dated 1710, in the Musikinstrumentenmuseum in Berlin. And I think just the sort of instrument that Bach would have known and for which he wrote the Italian concerto. This is a two-manual harpsichord, and to obey Bach's original piano and forte markings in this work, there should be a contrast between loud and soft, which can be achieved on the two keyboards. Bach clearly wanted to follow the Italian concerto style, where small groups of soloists are contrasted with the full orchestra, but I believe that the piano and forte markings provide a clear indication of his intentions. One could argue, of course, that Bach may have had the pianoforte in mind, where dynamics are easily achieved by felt-covered hammers hitting the strings with varying degrees of intensity by the player. On the harpsichord, of course, the strings are plucked by tiny slithers of bird quill that just doesn't allow the player any degree of dynamic expression. But the Italian concerto was written at a time around about 1735, when the piano as such was in its infancy. The organ builder Gottfried Silbermann produced a piano in 1732, and it's well known that when Bach laid his hands on it, he rather dismissed it as having a weak treble and a heavy action, which didn't exactly endear him to Silbermann, who probably crossed him off his Christmas card list that year. So just how does one achieve the distinction between loud and soft on the harpsichord? With two keyboards, the fairly soft upper manual 8-foot register can be coupled to the lower manual 8-foot, so that two sets of strings are sounding instead of one. There's also another set of strings at 4-foot pitch that plays an octave higher, adding another step up in volume as well as brilliance. So here then is the opening of the Italian concerto again to demonstrate the different dynamics. I'm going to begin with the manuals coupled with the addition of the 4-foot strings for the tutti passage. Then for the contrasting concertino passage, I take off the 4-foot, go upstairs with the left hand and accompany the forte right hand on the lower manual. Has a harp stop, common on many harpsichords, where pieces of felt butt up against the strings to mute them. If the stop is added midway in the slow movement of the Italian concerto, for example, it can be particularly effective. last movement of this work again follows the ritornello form of the typical concerti grossi, and I'm going to play a short section which again demonstrates the contrast between piano and forte.